Ready. Play.
So we have a very highly anticipated matchup, a quarterfinal in Stuttgart between Iga Swiatek and Jelena Ostapenko, where Ostapenko leads the head-to-head 5-love. Their most recent matchup coming in Doha, where Ostapenko tore Swiatek apart. So much to break down here in this matchup. So many things to, talk about, think about. But, here we are again. We are on clay this time. I will say it is not, true clay. It's not sea level clay. It's indoor clay. So it is a lot faster than other clay conditions, outside of Madrid. I'd say it's similar comp to that, but they haven't met, on the surface before. So I think that's the first talking point. But the second, obviously, Ostapenko just coming through Emma Navarro in 3 sets, where she probably could have got it done in 2, but Emma's consistency and kind of fighter mentality just to keep playing extra balls, gave her an opportunity. But all in all, it was kind of all Ostapenko in that 3rd set. So sets up obviously a matchup that we all wanted to see again. As you mentioned, 5-0 in the head-to-head in favor of Ostapenko. What are you thinking about going into this match, Carson?
I think this is unstoppable force meets immovable object right here. It's a 5-0 head-to-head, and then we're meeting on the surface where the person who is the underdog in that match wins literally everything. It feels like Iga Swiatek is so good on clay. Everything about her game fits this surface almost perfectly. It's been a really bad head-to-head matchup, though, and 5-love, it is starting to get on the point where you question if it's just a matchup problem in between 2 players, and if it is just a head-to-head, that could get wildly out of control. But Iga's the number 2 player in the world. You would think that eventually she's going to win one of these matches. So I think this is, it's on clay. It's the best opportunity she's had so far. And as we're saying that, we're talking about the number 2 player in the world. She can win this match on the fastest courts in the world eventually if you give her enough chances. So yeah, it's a really interesting, though, just the head-to-head, and then you look at the difference in rankings in between these 2 players. The thing that seems to irritate Iga the most about Ostapenko's game is just the pure pace of it. Just all of the time, just absolutely bashing balls all over the court. And that's her game. She does that against everyone. But there's not really like a change up in the style at all. And sometimes Iga needs that change up to happen. And she thrives in those moments. But Ostapenko, it's just power, and then more power, and then more power, and it just keeps coming. So there's like always power with it, but there's not always like consistency with it, just because it is flying all over the court. So there's not like one thing that Iga can necessarily just hold on to and say, she's going to this shot, I can go over here, and here's what I can do with it. She's just playing almost like blind defense compared to what she normally plays.
Yep. All good points, Carson. And there's another thing that popped into my mind that I hadn't really thought of. But, you think about the coaching situation for Iga and bringing in Wim Facet. I think this is another opportunity that can show up for her, for Iga to, take those, words of encouragement, those different strategies. This is a great opportunity to use that resource. And I think now I guess you mentioned a little bit, but people are probably curious on why does Iga always lose to Ostapenko? Well, it's a few reasons. I think, as you mentioned, just the pure pace and, Ostapenko hitting with kind of full out power, relentless in a sense, because there's no really, change up. It's kind of like playing Andrei Rublev, where he's just going to go ball bashing side to side and try and hit through you, go back behind you. But that's kind of the same way that Ostapenko plays, very tight to that baseline, trying to move you around and go back behind you. And then it's also like a timing thing, for Iga. She loves to gain rhythm, in rallies and work her way through points and try and, structure them and to her advantage. But with Ostapenko, you don't get that because you don't get any rhythm. You don't get any timing down because it's so relentless. And she really rushes. Ostapenko does a good job of rushing Swiatek in terms of not giving her a lot of, time to like I said, orchestrate points and create her point structure patterns of play, and that's definitely very troublesome on the Swiatek side. I think another thing is now, are we getting to a psychological point? And that's where I bring up Wim Fissette in terms of having a new face in the box and someone that can give you a new perspective. That's like important during these times because it can be difficult, especially when you're going to get an Ostapenko who is jolly to be on court with a lot of belief in herself and confidence going into this matchup. Where for Iga, it's usually the case for a lot of her matches, but for this one, I don't know how many losing head-to-head she has. I think Ash Barty was one of them, but there's just like a totally different mindset going into this match. So, that's kind of something that I'll be, looking out for in terms of how is her attitude on court, what's her body language like, and the same goes for Ostapenko because she's very quick in terms of that. She's emotional, lets out huge roars after winning points, where Iga, is a little bit more about her business and about herself and focused on, how can she control, her emotions and attitude as the match goes on. So, that's kind of the breakdown in terms of how I would evaluate this match and see it from both sides. Now let's get into your prediction, Carson. What are you thinking? Who's going to come out on top in the sixth matchup now between Swiatek and Ostapenko?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for, I don't know, maybe this is the upset here, but I'm going to pick Iga to win this one. I think she's growing really hungry for another title, which is another element of this match. She hasn't won a title in quite a while at this point, so I think she's hungry for that. I think you make a really good point about the coaching situation and how just having a different voice sitting in your player box can really help you have a different perspective on a particular match, especially when you have struggled in that match. And obviously, it's not the only thing that they're working on. But yeah, I think that's going to be a factor in this one. I think that Iga's going to pull this out. I think it's going to take 3 sets. Poetic in a way. You have a terrible head-to-head matchup against someone, and then you have to go the absolute distance in order to beat them. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to say, when you're trying to pick against a head-to-head, but, I don't know why it happens to be this way, but Andrei Rublev was 5-0 against Fokina today, and he got it done. And Rublev hadn't lost to, a Spanish player on clay. So whatever, those records they can be broken, and there's a time and a place. And I think we're in a great one for Iga in terms of being on the surface. As we talked about, it is quick. You're on indoor clay. The ball's moving quicker, bouncing quicker, maybe not as high. So I think there are plenty of edges for Ostapenko to still, have belief and succeed. But yeah, I just think from a mental standpoint, ability standpoint, seeing Emma Navarro being able to push her, I think that should give, Iga at least some confidence, as she knows that, someone can test her, and I guess at a similar-ish game style, and she can, grind her way through it. So yeah, I do like Iga to come through. I'm not going to make a prediction on the stats. I don't know what's going to happen, but I like Iga to come through. So it should be an exciting match and looking forward to it.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Ready. Play.
And if you're wondering what this little thing is, well, let me tell you now, whether it be tea, coffee, or merely water, it tastes so much better from a talking tennis mug. And you know what? They can be yours if you wish to purchase one from our website. We've also got bags and stickers and hoodies and notebooks. Mira Andreeva. T-shirts as well, of course, coming in both black and white. And we've got a classic jumper for you as well, and many, many other things for you to purchase for excellent prices so you can look like some of the coolest people on the tour. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.